Hello and welcome back. Well, it is time to take a look at the tier 6 storyline missions again. Ever since the new update, I did notice a lot of players losing their ships in those missions, mostly because they were not careful enough, and of course their ships were not built properly for the missions, and of course I am here to help with that. Now, up until recently, my personal main income came from the tier 6 storyline missions. They were quite short and their reward was very nice. After the update, the missions got a little bit longer, they got a lot more dangerous, and of course, for some missions the reward was increased, and for some the reward was decreased. For the tier 6 storylines in particular, I think for all of them the reward was increased and the difficulty for them was also increased. In my case, I fly the Galante storylines because my ship is built very nicely for them, and I do like how the layout on those missions work. But of course, in this video I'll be doing two storylines, the tier 6 Calderi and the tier 6 Galante. Those are the two most popular at the moment. Now, for the missions I will use a ship that's different from the Phantasm, because I know that the Phantasm is one of the most powerful cruisers in the game, and for missions, especially for storyline missions, the Phantasm is one of the best ships that you can find. But since the ship is very expensive, and because not many people do fly this ship, I'll be using a different ship for the mission. I'll be using a Prophecy. The Prophecy will be a lot more affordable. It does offer some very interesting characteristics that do outperform the Phantasm. But here you can see the equipment that I do have on this ship, and of course after this I'll be jumping on the tier 8 storylines. But first let me go to my Prophecy. Now the Prophecy is at the moment one of the best ships that you can use for storylines. It is not that expensive. It is at the moment around maybe under 200 million ISK, but for its price it does perform quite well. It is one of those rare ships that you can use even for tier 10 storylines. Now I will show you the fit that I have on this ship. I did focus on drone range and on drone DPS. That means in the low slots I will not have any defense modules, but I do have dual group armor repairers that will repair my armor in case it gets damaged. Those modules use fuel instead of the capacitor, and of course the modules save up the low slots for more drone DPS or drone speed mods. So far this ship did work quite well with this fit. It should outrange all enemy ships, that means I should take minimal damage. And well, time to jump in and let's see what the Calderi mission looks like. Upon arriving on the mission location, I never warp at 0. I always warp at least 20 kilometers from the center. In this case I warped 70 kilometers from the center because I do have around 77 kilometer range with the drones. And if I use a ship at long range, then I will warp at long range. Now, usually I always focus on the frigates first, because those ships do carry the disruptors and webifers. In the Galante storylines, the frigates and destroyers will also carry the scramblers, which are very dangerous if you use a MVD, but if you use a afterburner you should be safe. The elite ships also do carry the scramblers, and they can be very dangerous, especially if you do the tier 8 storylines, where the Battlecruisers and the cruisers do carry those. They can be very dangerous if they manage to catch your ship. But if you are careful and if you keep range, then you should be safe from those weapons, especially because the scramblers have short range, around 13 kilometers, 14 kilometers at best. Some ships do have bonuses, but those ships are mostly player ships, and the NPCs should not have range bonuses on the scramblers or disruptors. The highest range that I've seen is maybe 30 kilometers with the Disruptor in the Amar storylines. I do have 657 DPS, which is nice. That means I should clear this tier 6 very quickly. The only thing that I'll be changing when I do the tier 8 and tier 10 storyline will be the low slot modules. I'll definitely add some form of tank, because in the tier 8 and in the tier 10 storylines they might have range to hit me even at 77 kilometers. So that will be fun to test out, especially after this new update. Okay, now I'll focus on the destroyers. My capacitor is stable at 20%, which is low, but it is stable. I do use all of these modules to improve drone parameters, and so far that's been doing a good job. Now this mission is still very easy, and I think this might be the lowest rewarding tier 6 storyline. I got disrupted by this bomber, and it is a warp disruptor, not a scrambler. Okay, well, that ship got destroyed and I still didn't take any damage, which is good. Now, if I did go with the level 3 rigs on the Prophecy, I would have around 85 kilometer range, and in the end you should go with the range rigs on this ship, especially for the tier 8 and tier 10 storylines. Your DPS will come from the modules and your DPS will come from the skills. So if you focus on ships that use drones for their weapons, then I suggest to improve the drone upgrade skills and of course the overall drone skills to increase the control range and to increase the amount of drones that you can use, or should I say the number of drones that you can use. Well then, time to jump on the Galante storyline. The Caldari storyline is mostly easy. You have to be careful around the weapon that you use. If you use drones, then you are safe, but if you use missiles, then you might have a bad time, because they do have the guidance disruptors that affect missile parameters and missile performance. While in the Galanta storylines they will be using sensor dampeners. That means your lock-on will be greatly increased, which is very bad if you try to lock on frigates and destroyers. But their effective range is at maximum 30 to 40 kilometers. So if you warp in at, let's say, 50 or 60 kilometers, then the dampeners will not affect your ship and your lock-on will stay the same. Now here in this mission they do use Nostratus, they do use neutralizers, they also like to use Webifers, and they also use scramblers. In the Galante storylines I did not notice the NPCs to be using any disruptors. They don't use disruptors, they use scramblers. So if you have a MVD and if, let's say, a frigate manages to get too close to you, and if that frigate manages to scramble your ship, then your MVD will be disabled until you manage to destroy the frigate that's giving the scrambler. And if by any chance your ship gets caught by accident in the main wave of enemy ships, things might be very dangerous, especially because the frigates and destroyers can be very hard to hit. They are fast, they are very fast, and they can orbit around 1 to 5 kilometers from your ship. If you use drones, you can shoot them down very easily. If you use any other weapon, then I suggest to have a Webifer installed to slow down the velocity of the enemy ships to make them easier to hit. One Webifer is usually enough, but in some cases you can take two Webifers, depends on how many medium slots you have on your ship. The neutralizers and Nosferatus didn't have a big effect on my ship, to be honest, even when I fly my Phantasm. With my Phantasm I actually orbit at 13 kilometers. The ship is using a combination of active tank and speed tank. So far it's been doing a very good job. And I don't have any Nosferatu, and of course I don't have any form of energy regeneration module on that ship. And the capacitor is stable at 40 to 80%. It depends on how many modules I have activated at once. Now here I did purposefully get close to the enemy ships to take some damage, just to show how the group field boosters will work, because they are going to repair the small amount of damage that you take. If you snipe your targets, then you are not going to take a lot of damage anyway, so a armor repair can do the job good, but it eats one low slot. This way I do have all low slots available, while also retaining a form of armor repairing. So far I've been using this fit and this fit on at least 3 different ships. All 3 ships are still alive. I didn't lose any of them, and this tactic proved itself to be very good for this type of combat. Now of course, if you don't want to use the group repairs, you can always change into a armor repair, but you will have to sacrifice a low slot for them. And of course, if you have a armor repair, then I suggest that you go for a fully fledged armor tank, or in case of a ship that is a shield tank ship, then a fully fledged shield tank. And at the moment, one of the best ships that you can use for storylines, and of course it is not that expensive anymore. When these ships first came out, I remember the prophecy was around maybe 500 million ISK, which was actually very expensive. You can use the Arbitrator. That ship is also very good for this job, and it can be fitted in a similar way. The Covertops variant of that ship also works. Vexor Navy also works quite well. The classic Vexor is also working quite well with the same tactic. Now the major difference is this ship is a battlecruiser. This ship can take a lot of damage, but the cruisers can't. So you have to be more careful with the cruisers, because they are more fragile and they are a lot easier to lose. So with those cruisers, I suggest to keep those targets at minimum 60 to 70 kilometers. With the Prophecy you can orbit at 50, but if you want to do tier 10 storylines, then I suggest to have 70 and above kilometers drone control range. So far, the ship has been doing a good job, and very soon, in the next couple days, I will attempt a tier 10 storyline with this ship, mostly using the similar tactic, and of course a very similar fit to this one, but of course I'll have to change some modules and I'll have to adapt the ship to the situation of a tier 10 storyline. Maybe I will get help, I don't know, it depends if there are any teammates available at the time, but if I have to do the storyline solo, I will. It will take some time, but eventually I will manage to complete it. I will use all the knowledge and all the tactics that I've learned so far. That will be a fantastic my build that was Initially I thought that I would have had but I did decide to go the more than I trust lasers. Drones never let me down. With lasers, I defeat very tricky situations, and I have to be very careful, and I will have to be very careful. So as you can see, they use buffers, they use around your ship quite a bit. There is the scrambler on me, and of course I can't turn on my MPV because the scrambler is turning off my MPV. But drones and of course bullets came too close. Galactic storylines might be one of the easier storylines to do because they don't use disruptors, they don't use any guidance disruptors. Speaking of those armor ships use tracking disruptors. For armor storylines, I suggest drones or missiles. Drones I think drones will still do a better job in storylines than missiles, but turrets in armor storylines are not going to perform very well because the tracking cycle literally reduces your tracking a lot and makes hitting targets very hard. That can be very dangerous if you have to shoot down targets that are already around your ship at close range. In armor storylines, they do carry buffers and disruptors. I don't remember seeing a scrambler, but a scrambler might be a possibility. In most cases, they can be done the same way as the Caldery and other storylines. Well, so far this prophecy is doing a very good job, and most likely I will increase the ship's overall capacitor volume and capacitor regeneration rate. But for this tactic so far, the current fit and the current build is doing a very good job. The group armor repairs are doing a very good job. You can replace those with large group armor repairs. They are going to consume a little bit more fuel, but they are going to repair your armor a lot faster. That's one thing that I will have to change. That's something that I have to write down, not to forget. The medium boosters are good, but you can fit large ones, and the large repairs repair a lot more, so why not use them? I'll definitely have to change that. As you can see, they are kind of difficult, but if you're careful and if you fly the right ship for the right storyline, you can clear them in a very short amount of time. And once you get used to these missions, you can actually do these missions over and over again, and that way you can make a lot of ISK, and of course that way you can afford more powerful ships that will do storylines, even higher tier storylines, more efficient and a lot more safer. Well, that was the prophecy. Definitely a ship that I do recommend. And well, next time when I return, I'll be jumping in my Phantasm, and well, I'll be doing a quick run through, and of course I'll definitely play all the tier 8 storylines with it, and well, we will see how much the tier 8 storylines are different from the tier 6 storylines. Stay safe, fly safe, and I'll see you next time.